Now members press. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that we perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the levels of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and that good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Now, members, we shall commence with the correction of the votes and proceedings of the 30th sitting held on Wednesday, 23rd April, 2022. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Yes, Honorable Member 4.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Page 10, item 9. After the member read the statement, Speaker, you gave an indication that Friday, members, you were trying to lower the standards to allow members to express their support to the Black Stars. This being a major support that the House is giving to the Stars, and the votes and proceedings being the first book of reference, it is my considered view that that is captured in the votes of proceedings for yesterday.
Very well. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, page 12, item 2, in attendance. Roman numeral 2, Mr. Francis Menu is a double, not a bubble. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You know, something is not right. I've been wondering what it is. The most of proceedings I'm holding is of Tuesday, 22nd March. I'm looking at page 10 as referred to. I'm not seeing what he's talking about, so I went back to check again. Can you? Yes, you said Honorable Adabo's name has been wrongly spelled. Very well. The table of office will reflect the appropriate correction. Page 12. Page 13. Honorable members, subject to the corrections effected, the vote on proceedings of Wednesday, March 23, 2022, I hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. We have one official report. The official report of Wednesday, March 10th, 2022. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the cover page, the date, 10th March 2022, it's a Thursday, not Wednesday. So if that could be corrected, Wednesday was the 9th. And Mr. Speaker, at column 1, the last paragraph, the Honorable Della Soa, she spells a Della with a double L and not one L. So if that could be corrected as well. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know about other colleagues, but I don't have a column 5 and column 6 is blank. I don't know if others have theirs. I have the same challenge for column 43 and column 44 is blank. There are no there are no contents for us to peruse. So if they could pay attention to that, column 43 and 44, and then column 5 and 6. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The table of office should replace the honorable member's official report for him, because mine doesn't have those defects. If there's anyone whose copy has those defects, kindly bring that to the attention of the table office for replacement. Thank you. Yes, any more corrections, please? Any more corrections? In the absence of any more corrections, the official report of March 10th, 2022 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Yes, Honorable Leader.
Speaker, may I seek your leave to vary the order of business and for us to take, to go on to page 4 of today's order paper and take item 10, the motion, item 10.
Yes. Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're scheduled for about 10 questions today for the Finance Minister to come before the House to answer these questions. Mr. Speaker, some of these questions have been pending for over 8 months. Yet, the Finance Minister keeps getting excuses not to come, keep giving reasons not to come and answer them. Mr. Speaker, I find this to be very unacceptable because the Finance Minister can find time to go around the country doing town hall meetings, and yet he doesn't want to come to this House to answer to the representative of the people. Mr. Speaker, if you check these questions, about 10 or so of them, about 13 of them, Mr. Speaker, they've been outstanding for a very long time. Today we are told that Finance Minister is going to hold press conference to address the country. He is failing to come to the House to answer questions. He writes that he's gathering facts on the questions. The Speaker, our standing orders are very, very clear. How long it should take ministers to appear before this House to answer questions. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, if I may read how long it may take a minister to come and answer questions. Mr. Speaker, the minister is supposed to answer questions in the House within 2 weeks of notice served him. Mr. Speaker, some of these questions have been outstanding for over 8 months. Mr. Speaker, my worry is that if we keep accommodating the finance minister's excuses, these questions may never be answered. I would want to plead with the Speaker that yes, you may want to vary to do some work. I don't have any objection to that. Speaker, we should give a definitive instructions to the finance minister to come and answer these questions, so that we just don't leave it in the pool for it to get lost. Because even this business that we are trying to carry, the Speaker, many of them involve the finance minister again. I don't know, for whatever reason, he chooses not to be coming to this House and always sending his deputies. So, Mr. Speaker, if he cannot get time to do the work, he should tell the President, His Excellency, that he doesn't want to be the finance minister. But if truly he wants to be the finance minister, he should be answerable to the House and come to the House and answer questions as and when it is required, and not to be giving excuses, waiting just a day to the questions to be answered. Then he will write for an excuse that he's gathering the data on the questions that have been asked. The Speaker will be grateful if you give some definitive directive for the finance minister to come and answer this question. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Speaker, I listened to my colleague and I don't intend to unnecessarily raise the temperature this morning. I want to speak in support of my colleague. But Speaker, fact be told, and the table office will bear witness to this. If I'm saying anything otherwise, the table office should say. These questions advertised in the name of the finance minister have gone through the process. The questions have gone through to the Speaker. The Speaker was admitted it because I have followed from day one. And on the day the questions were admitted by Mr. Speaker, the table office had confirmed. For my colleague to say that it's about 8 months, I don't know where he's getting that information from. So it has gone through the normal process. And in this House, between leadership, we have also come to some working agreement that where a sector minister is unable to attend upon the House, at least we should receive that correspondence a day ahead of the day the sector minister is billed to come and answer the said question. In fact, be told, we received this correspondence. I personally followed up to ensure that these correspondence got to this House yesterday. So I can understand the concern of our colleague, except to plead with our colleague that the finance minister has not on any occasion, and that's a fact, he has not on any occasion refused to come and attend upon this House and answer questions advertised in his name. So I'll plead with my colleagues, let's not raise the temperature, for want of a better expression, unnecessarily this morning. He has written, and let's give him the benefit of the doubt. After the expiration of the date given, then we can have a cause to complain. He has respected this House, and I'll plead with my colleagues to acknowledge the respect and the dignity he has accorded to this House. And let's proceed with today's business.
Yes, Chekwe.
Mr. Speaker, whereas I want to agree with my colleague that we may not need to unnecessarily drag this. But I want to tell you on record, some of the questions are as old as 9 months. If you want to challenge, I will insist that, Mr. Speaker, you let the clerk at table produce the first time they will send the notice. Maybe my colleague needs to be reminded, when questions are filed, they are forwarded to the ministry. And then when business committee meets and schedule it, then they are reminded that these questions that were sent to you, you are now scheduled to come and answer them. So you don't mix the two. The first, you are saying that there's this question for you to prepare answers to the House. And then when business committee plans it, then you are now reminded that it is now for you to come and answer. So if you want to insist, I can tell you that some of the questions have been filed since Speaker admitted them, and the letter sent to the ministry since June 2021. And that's 9 months. So please, help us to get the minister to be in the House to answer questions. And Mr. Speaker, I want to remind my colleagues, since he's saying that the finance minister has never failed to appear before this House to carry out any of his duties, I will remind him, anytime there's a business for the finance minister, we will not accommodate another person doing it. And then we'll all start counting how many times the finance minister is not here and someone has to do the business for him. So that at least it will point to the whole world that whether it's been coming or it's not been coming, it will clearly show. Now, Mr. Speaker, we don't intend to drag this. We know that questions, yes, if there's any genuine reason why a minister cannot appear, they will write. But we are saying that he is overflogging this opportunity. He must be given a definite time to come and answer. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. I'm advised that the table office has actually distributed the questions to persons who had filed, the minister's response to those who had filed the question. So they have been put on notice that the minister will not be here. It is for the business committee to reprogram the questions, and I encourage you to do it as early as possible so that the questions can be answered. But before that, Honorable Chief Whip, your colleague Chief Whip had made an application. I want your comment on the application.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, he mentioned to me he wanted to vary the order 53. He wants to vary the order of business so that we can take public business, some 2 items, motion number 10, motion number 12, and motion number 14, so that we then come back to statements. Thank you very much.
Very well. The order of business is hereby varied, and I'll proceed to public business. Item 10. Is that item 10? Item 10, motion by the chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that the motion listed as item 10 on today's order paper be moved. And in the process, I present your committee's report. Mr. Speaker, it's in respect of the request for approval of Ghana's subscription to additional 11,996 shares allocated by the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank Group. The Speaker, Ghana, as a member of the IFC, the World Bank, has been allocated a total of 11,996 GCI shares with a total share value of some 11,996,000 US dollars. Ghana, however, is not eligible for the SCR subscription due to the fact that its IFC shares is currently above its IBRD shares. The Minister of Finance therefore wishes to seek parliamentary approval for Ghana to take up the additional shares allocated by the Board of Governors of the World Bank. Mr. Speaker, the cost to Ghana for this acquisition is an expected 11,996,000 that are indicated. The payment arrangement has been indicated under paragraph 6.1 of your committee's report. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee, in recognition of the role of the IFC in supporting private sector investment in Ghana, and having regard to the fact that Ghana stands to benefit substantially from the increase in the capitalization of the corporation, the committee, having carefully scrutinized the agreement, recommends the House to approve the request for approval of this subscription to additional shares allocated by the International Finance Corporation in accordance with Article 1A to 15 of the 1992 Constitution. Respectfully submitted, I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Ranking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that was moved by the chairman of the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me also say that the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank is the investment arm or the commercial wing of the World Bank Group. They have in the past supported the country, particularly the private sector, to thrive. I believe that an attempt to increase our shares will mean Ghana as a country will benefit going forward. Mr. Speaker, particularly the private sector that the IFC obviously is interested in, and obviously is their mandate to support. Mr. Speaker, let me also say that in as much as we support that this approval must happen, I believe the time has come for Ghana to review its constituency at the IMF and the World Bank Group. Speaker, I say this because if you go to the World Bank Group, Pakistan and Iran has been representing Ghana both at the IMF and the World Bank for years. Our constituency at the World Bank Group is such that Ghana is not playing any active role. In fact, the only position that we occupy at the constituency office is an economist level, which I believe is woefully inadequate. Because, the Speaker, when it comes to decision making, a country that has a representative at the executive director's level will certainly push the country's interest. And as we speak, it is Pakistan and Iran that is leading Ghana's agenda at that constituency. I believe the time has come for us to sit with our constituency in that World Bank and the IMF group to be able to decide on the roles that Ghana can play. Mr. Speaker, among the sub-region, it looks as if Ghana is the only country that is more or less sharing constituencies with the big countries in Asia. And oftentimes we've lost out. And so, in as much as we support that this should be done, I also urge the ministry responsible for finance to start the engagement and to ensure that the role of Ghana in that constituency be reviewed and opportunity given to us to take up a responsibility other than just taking the loans. The Speaker, to conclude, we were told that the first installment will be $4 million. The second installment, another $4 million, and the third installment of $3.9 million. Because my only concern is, we have also been told by the Ministry of Finance that government intends to cut down expenditure. So at the time that you are cutting down expenditure, you are buying shares and signing on to subscriptions. I do not know whether this will constitute fiscal consolidation or fiscal expansion. Mr. Speaker, I'm only urging the government that let your yes be your yes and no be your no. Don't signal a policy of consolidation and your act be responding in a policy of expansionary. Mr. Speaker, that will confuse the market in particular, because the market is watching and listening. And anytime you announce one and do B, if care is not taken, it will result in a possible crash. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Probably I should put the question. As many as are in favor of the motion say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Item Which item should I move to? 11? Item 11. Resolution by the Minister of Finance. Yes.
Speaker, I am aware this week we've done a lot of business and the Deputy Minister of Finance has stood instead of the Finance Minister. So in the same vein, respectfully, with the blessings of my colleague who has been very cooperative this week, Speaker, I seek your leave for the Deputy Minister of Finance to take the item instead of the Finance Minister. Speaker, respectfully, I seek your leave.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister. I have already granted leave. Yes, kindly hold on, yes.
Yes, sir. I didn't understand what the majority whip was trying to do. He's exaggerating my cooperation. I just want, as I promised, to start counting. Finance Minister absent 1.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolution captured as item 11 on pages 4 and 5 of today's order paper be adopted now. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, the motion to adopt a resolution numbered 11 on today's order paper has been moved and seconded. All in favour of the House adopting the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The House has adopted the resolution numbered 11 on today's order paper. Yes.
Speaker, we should be going on to page 5, today's order paper, and take item 12.
Yes. Item 12, motion by the Chairman of the Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that this Honourable House adopt the report of the Finance Committee on the request for waiver of import duty, import VAT, get fund levy, import NHIL, exim levy, special import levy, and COVID-19 levy amounting to the Ghana cedi equivalent of some 7,156,585 euros on materials and equipment to be imported by Michels Barbuild Africa for the design and construction of selected roads in Sekendi and Takrady. Mr. Speaker, in the process, I present to your committee's report and request the Hansa Department to capture the full extent of the report whilst I take the highlights. The breakdown for the requested waiver has been stated, Mr. Speaker, under paragraph 4.0 of your committee's report. It comes with Mr. Speaker, to further the project that I indicated, the Ghana Revenue Authority has assessed the applicable taxes, duties, and levies on the equipment and materials and other general items required for the project and have recommended a total tax liability of 7,156,585 euros, for which exemption should be granted. But, Mr. Speaker, the committee reviewed the master list. The master list accompanying the request and took the view that some of the items could not be exempted because they are available locally. The committee therefore recommends to the House to remove a number of items valued at 316,240 euros from the list of materials and equipment to be exempted from import duties and other import-related taxes. The revised assessment and the related master list has been attached as an appendix. In conclusion, the committee, after a careful examination of the referral, is of the view that the expansion of the road network in Sekenita Quarry will help reduce traffic congestion in the city and facilitate the movement of goods and services. The committee therefore recommends the House to adopt its report and approve the request. Respectfully submitted, I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Ranking Member.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise to second the motion. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, just to bring to the attention of the House that the Ministry of Finance requested that we approve an amount of 7.1 million euros being tax exemption. Mr. Speaker, upon careful consideration, we noticed that some of the items that the Ministry has requested that we grant tax exemption cannot actually pass or stand the test of time. So, Mr. Speaker, we at the committee level agreed unanimously that there is the need for us to cut down the tax exemption that the Ministry of Finance has requested. Because some of the items they intend to import, Mr. Speaker, we noticed that they can indeed get them locally. So the amount involved of 7.1 was accordingly revised to 6.8 million euros. Mr. Speaker, again, this issue of tax exemption has become a matter of national concern. Mr. Speaker, I think the time has come for all of us, and you know it's a national concern. Mr. Speaker, the time has come for us to be looking carefully as a House the commercial agreement that we approve. Because some of the commercial agreement that comes before us grant tax exemptions in a blanket manner. Mr. Speaker, when the commercial agreement approved by Parliament says that the contractor is entitled to tax exemptions for all materials and all taxes, in some cases including corporate income tax. Mr. Speaker, no country does that. No country does that. I mean, everybody has to pay some taxes. So probably, Mr. Speaker, the tax exemption bill that is before us, we are going to do a very good job and ensure that some of these provisions are in the tax exemption bill, so that ministers will not be signing tax contracts with that blanket tax exemption clauses, and to commit all of us, and in a way, Mr. Speaker, erode the base of taxes to the extent that we now have to shift the burden of tax to the ordinary Ghanaian. Mr. Speaker, and that one, when the time comes, all of us will be called upon to support that so that we can strengthen the tax exemption bill in a way that it will not be abused. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let me listen to the ranking member on roads. Yes.
Right, Honourable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank the committee for doing a good job. I think this is the first time I've seen the committee come up with the request that an item that has been provided to be exempted, in their view, shouldn't be exempted. And I think it is a good thing. It means we are improving on the way we do our thing. Mr. Speaker, I also agree with what the ranking said. Mr. Speaker, maybe as a House we need to take a cue on this. Sometimes in this House, we bring both facility and commercial agreement together with the tax exemptions. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, in many of those agreements, they tell you that it's an EPC turnkey project. In other words, we don't even have the full understanding of the design. So if we don't know the scope of works, it's just employers' requirement we're working with. How are you able to determine that on this project? We need 21 tipper trucks, 30-ton tipper trucks for, estimates. Yes, but the point is that we are allowing developers to get away with too much money that we could save to ourselves. Mr. Speaker, if you read the back of it, how is the committee able to determine that, for instance, we need something called GPS on the list? The committee, what is GPS? Did anybody explain to you? They say GPS 3, and there's an amount attached to it. GPS what? And I think that we could do better by being more, on top of my mind, roller, single dam roller, 6. It is difficult to understand whether this is adequate or too much, or the developers just front load a lot of items into their contract sum, which they extract the tax exemption to free enough money for themselves, Mr. Speaker. I think going forward, just as they've been able to look through the list and determine that some items ought not to be exempted, I encourage them in the future, they should do further diligence. Mr. Speaker, like I've been saying, I have seen on rural electrification project in this house, where we have given tax exemption of 600,000 Ghana cedi to a stone crusher, in fact, quarry machine. And I keep asking myself, do you need a quarry machine to do rural electrification? We are not even talking about a boring machine like a drilling machine. What do you need a quarry machine for on rural electrification? But guess what? We have given that approval before. Mr. Speaker, I commend the committee for doing a good job. But maybe in the future, let's do a bit more, querying of the list they provide to us, so that we can save money to government, and instead of giving all this money to them, Mr. Speaker, sadly, when they come, every site you go to in this country, maybe 5-6 expatriates representing the developer come here. Everybody else who does the work and the engineers, everybody come from this country. Meanwhile, when they are paying the locals their salary, they take taxes. But the handful of expatriates that come here, even the water they drink is tax exempt. Like our Nabato said, who does that? It's of no value to the state. It's no value to our citizens. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we can do better. And for today, I'm happy. This is the first time I'm happy, slightly happy about supporting a tax exemption to be approved in this house. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in order not to just repeat some of the concerns, I think we have overflogged this issue many times in this house. And Mr. Speaker, I'm very aware that currently the tax waivers bill is before the Finance Committee. I am tempted to think that we seem not to prioritize in this house very much. Because I don't understand why that is keeping too long at the committee. We need to be able to work on that, because we all agree that should be a guide. Because, Mr. Speaker, in fact, this morning, the majority will agree. I was insistent that we should stand this thing down. But my attention has been drawn that this is a commercial agreement that we have approved. Embedded in it, we approve together with, there will be tax waiver that will bring to this house. So now, if any attempt to stall this tax waiver approval will simply mean you are going to stall the project. And it will not naturally be fair to even the country, because the longer it takes, everything keeps changing, and it can even lead to financial loss to the state. But, Mr. Speaker, we seem to tie our own hands to our back and not able to do much about this thing, when we can see clearly, this is one of the ways that we can help as a house to get to do away with. Because, Mr. Speaker, many countries have stopped this tax waiver business and turned them into tax credit. You come and do the work, and when you are paying your taxes, then we take it up, because that one will be after doing the work. This one upfront, we are just giving people blank check, and they get the opportunity to abuse it. We keep repeating it, yet it keeps happening each time. Mr. Speaker, I believe that if a next loan is coming to this house, and we as a house, especially led by the Finance Committee, has not finished with the waiver bill, please don't blame as if we take a stand that any loan that is coming embedded in it, a tax waiver, insist on separating it, or we cannot support it. Don't blame us and try to do the usual politicking that we do. This is coming to us once people have you seen, these people are against you. But we can see that this is really milking all of us. Because you look at the waivers, sometimes it's funny, without trying to self-serve. My colleague Honorable Abena will remember, even MPs, vehicle waiver, they didn't exempt everything. You still have some components you have to pay. Meanwhile, expatriates are coming and you are exempting everything. What kind of self-hate is that? Even you yourself, when you are to be exempted in some of the women, they left some for you to pay. But as per it, you are happy to exempt everything, including the water that you'll be drinking. Why? So we hope the Finance Committee will do well to try and expedite action on the waiver bill, so that at least it will serve as a guide to help us deal with this canker once and for all. With this comment, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Speaker, I think the importance of this motion and this facility is not lost on us. The chairman has mentioned it. I don't want to overly flog the matter. The fact that there's oil discovery, there's mining activity, and therefore we need to look at these road construction. That is important. But, fact be told, I can say without any shred of doubt or equivocation that probably this is one of the surest way we are losing revenue as a country. And there is a study done by some experts that in developing countries or parts of third world countries, it's more or less become an avenue for losses that are, accounted. So we really have to pay attention to this. It's gratifying that the committee, with his magnifying glass, was able to identify some shortfall and was able to deal with it. And to that extent, we need to commend the committee. But it is not gratifying also, on the other side of the coin, that the bill is still with the committee. We will want to plead that the leadership of the committee, both the ranking and the chair, as passionate as they speak to the matter, they should be able to. I recall this matter generated a lot of debate. Tax waiver generated a huge concern on this House floor. So we may have to facilitate and bring finality to this matter. Otherwise, we'll be ripping ourselves as a country, particularly in the times we find ourselves in, where the president has shown leadership, calling for sacrifices and a certain behavioral change towards what we can do to crystallize our effort in making savings towards our national development. So I think that maybe before we rise, and I hope I'm not being hard on the committee leadership, maybe before we rise, the committee, I am reliably informed, are already working on the bill. Maybe before we rise, they should bring finality to it, bring it to the House floor for us to take a definite decision on this call for a drastic change in the tax waiver regime that we have as a country. It's critically important, and we cannot pretend about it. Speaker, I thank you for the space.
Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I've taken note of the references made to the committee and our treatment of the exemptions bill which you referred to us. The only reason we have not started a serious work on that bill is that, Mr. Speaker, you also referred to us the fees and charges miscellaneous provisions bill of 2021, which feeds into the current appropriation. That is the only thing that is preventing us. But beginning next week, we will start treating that bill, and I share the optimism of the Chief Whip on the majority side that before we rise, the bill will be brought to this House and hopefully passed, and then the provisions therein would govern going forward how we exempt individuals and items from the payment of taxes. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
At the conclusion of the debate, all in favor of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Are we doing item 13?
Yes, Speaker, item 13.
Very well. Resolution. Item 13 by the Minister of Finance. Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister. You may move them.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolution captured as item 13 on pages 5, 6 of today's order paper be adopted now. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Ranking.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honorable members, the motion to adopt a resolution number 13 on today's order paper is moved and seconded. All in favor of the House adopting that motion, say aye. Aye. All against that, say no. That the House has consequently adopted resolution number 13 on page 5 and 6 of today's order paper. Yes.
Speaker, we should be going to page 7. Today's order paper and take item 14. With your leave.
Yes, item 14, motion. Chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that this Honorable House adopt the report of the Finance Committee on the request for waiver of import duty, import VAT, get fund levy, import NHI or exim levy, special import levy, and COVID-19 levy amounting to the Ghana cedi equivalent of 30,443 euros on materials and equipment for the construction of the Eastern Corridor Road, Lot 1, Tema to Akosombo Junction, a total of 63.6 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I present your committee's report. Mr. Speaker, the breakdown for the various tax lines that have been exempted clearly provided under paragraph 4. Again, Mr. Speaker, the committee went through the master list and considered that some of the items ought to be procured locally to support our local industries, and therefore remove some of the items to the tune of 2,759,556 euros, giving rise to a fresh master list which is attached to the report as appendix. Mr. Speaker, that brings the amount we are requesting this House to approve on behalf of the request by the Ministry of Finance is 77,240,887 euros on material and equipment for the said project. Respectfully submitted, I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Ranking.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that was moved by the Chairman of the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, to start with, there is the need for us to amend the motion that says the amount to be approved is 30,443 euros. Mr. Speaker, I say this because at the Finance Committee, after careful deliberations, we noticed that though the Ministry of Finance has requested for us to approve for them an amount of 30 million, we reviewed it downwards. In fact, the Speaker revised it downwards to 27,240,887 euros. The Speaker, this represents a savings of 2.5 million euros plus. The Speaker, therefore, the motion must be corrected to capture what we are asking for. And Mr. Speaker, when we get to the resolution, since the resolution will be the exact amount that we are approving, the resolution also, as captured, said 30 million, but we are not asking for an approval of 30 million. We are asking an approval for 27,240,887 euros. That's what we are asking for. Mr. Speaker, to the question, let me finish there, you come. Okay.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your guidance. The referral as was made to us is as has been stated here accurately. Now, the committee, as Ranking rightly indicated, is recommending to this House to approve a different amount. And of course, the consequential resolution. The guidance I seek from you is that should we amend the motion, or that in sending the resolution, communicating the resolution to the entity that made the request, that we state what Parliament has approved. I just seek your guidance. We'll maybe having a number of these.
I think that the motion is created by Parliament. The resolution is drafted by Parliament. So any corrections, let's do it to the motion and the resolution, so there's no confusion. Somebody will just pick the motion paper and say, oh, we approved 30 million, when in fact we recommended 27 point something. So after the debate, before I put the question, I'll grant you leave to amend the figures so we can.
Mr. Speaker, in that case, I will respectfully request for same to amend the earlier one we did as well.
Yes, let's do the debate. After that, before the question is put, I will grant you leave to amend the motion paper and the resolution. Is that right?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that clarity. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Kwame Agbeja, in his submission, had said earlier that this is the first time he's seen Finance Committee reviewing downwards tax exemption request that has been placed before us. But I wish to let him be aware that even today we are reviewing another one. And in the past we have been reviewing a number of tax exemptions, Mr. Speaker, because we are all passionate about this eroding of our tax base and the need for us to pay a particular attention to some of this amount that we are actually losing. Mr. Speaker, I say this for a simple reason that what countries have started doing is to convert these tax exemptions to multinational corporations and to certain companies in a form of tax credit. So that, Mr. Speaker, these companies, when they are paying their taxes, they can use it to deduct their future taxes and not to knock it off from the beginning. Mr. Speaker, when that happens, we lose revenue. We lose revenue. And that is why, even though that composition is not part of the tax exemption bill, I've discussed with the chairman for us to consider inserting a possibility of tax credit so that these multinational corporations, instead of Ghana giving them tax exemption upfront, we will give them in a form of tax credit. They pay their taxes and use it to knock it off. Mr. Speaker, another point relating to the fact that all of us should be mindful of these tax exemptions that we approve has to do with the issue of value for money. Mr. Speaker, I say this because what I've realized of recent is that most of the value for money analysis that we have done excludes the tax exemptions that we grant to these companies. So when it comes to comparing the cost of the project, even though the tax exemption is part of the cost of the project, we exclude it. And so the actual cost of the project is not known. And so it will certainly pass anyway. So you are doing value for money analysis without the tax exemption, which is also a cost to the project. And so what you notice is that the project from day one is bloated. It's bloated because attention to the taxes that we are exempted. Mr. Speaker, this tax exemption issue is a major one. It's a major one. And I'm glad that all of us seems to sing from the same hymn book, to the extent that we believe time has come for us to review these tax exemptions. Mr. Speaker, we cannot do that without the cooperation of the House and without the cooperation of sector ministers, those who are signing the commercial agreement. It's the commercial agreement that gives rise to these tax exemptions, and not at the Ministry of Finance. And that is why I'm saying that even though we are bringing the tax exemption bill, and some of these things will be addressed in it, what happens to the old contracts that this Parliament has approved? What happens to the old contract that the sector ministries has approved? Mr. Speaker, probably it may mean that we have to grandfather them, to the extent that we will have to continue granting these tax exemptions because there's a contractual agreement between us and them. There's no other option than to grandfather them. So we'll be coming. We'll be coming as and when the opportunity calls on us for us to review them. But I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that we will ensure that those items that they can purchase them locally, we will deduct them. To the extent that some of them, they are calling on us to approve tax exemptions on quarry stones, sand, tax exemption on sand. I mean, who does that? So we have decided to remove all of them from all what we've been asked to do. So on the master list, you will notice that most of the items that we are requesting, in fact, all the items that we are requesting that we grant tax exemptions on them are the items that they are importing. And if there's anyone that we feel strongly that they can purchase them locally, we are saying that they should buy them locally, so that local companies can also benefit from the project. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Senator Beja.
Right, Honorable Speaker, once again, I thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the few comments I have about this is yourself, a member of the Roads and Transport Committee. This project, as we speak, Mr. Speaker, they are not on site. They are probably still going through design and approval. So it is difficult to understand how come we are able to determine that we need between Temamoto Way and Adomi Bridge, how we are able to determine we need 55 heavy-duty tipper trucks, 11 bulldozers, 20 passenger vehicles of various sizes and costs, 16 excavators and other things. Mr. Speaker, the fact is that what we are doing is basically hypothetically assuming that they may need these things, and as and when they bring it, we give them tax exemption. Mr. Speaker, if you see the attachment, some items are in units that are difficult to understand. For instance, when they say small equipment, poker vibrator, iron rod, bend machine, 150,000. What exactly are they talking about? They are technical, but these items ought to be classified in a way that people will be able to understand. Otherwise, we are just, some of the units also are like in huge numbers. And you ask yourself, metal structure, steel work, 15 million lots. What are we talking about? Mr. Speaker, I think we are being fed with an information that probably is vital, but it's not in a character that we may be able to appreciate and understand whether we need all these things. Mr. Speaker, there's one thing we all complain about. Mr. Speaker, every developer in this country, and we know some developers have got 2, 3, 4 projects. Some of the projects last 2 years, 3 years. But Mr. Speaker, you'll be surprised that developer A comes and gets project A, requests everything, including vehicles, 200 kilowatts of generator and everything. The next project, which is phase 2, 2 miles away, he requires the same amount of things, as if immediately they finish the project in 2 years, everything they've acquired is disposed of. Mr. Speaker, I believe we can do something about this and save some money to our country. Between Temamoto Way and Adomi, we all know the kilometers. But if you see the number, in fact, I don't know of much forest along that road. Go and check the number of chainsaws we need to cut down trees on that stretch of road. And by the time you break this project down, I know there are one or two flyovers along that stretch. If you break it down, Mr. Speaker, somebody will say that this project will become a kilometer will be so much money. But we've done that before. Mr. Speaker, do you know what the problem we have? When we do this, we say they should do value for money. Mr. Speaker, can we direct that anytime we say that they should do VFM as condition precedent, eventually they should provide that VFM to the House. So we will get a guide that the last time we did this project, it was this level of complexity, we paid this. Then we can be able to have a determination of build the in-house capacity like the majority leader is talking about. But if we pretend that every project is new and take between the beach road, what we are doing, that developer is doing some works here. But go and look at the number of equipment we are paying for. And today, let's go and check whether the number of equipment we have actually given tax exemption for are actually on site. I think the committees of both, any committee that gives approved commercial agreement should not end there. We should go and find out what we have allowed them to do, if they are doing it. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, we may consider ourselves as doing our part. But the oversight really is on the ground. And Mr. Speaker, if we don't do that, we might not be helping that. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, It is important we build roads, but Mr. Speaker, anytime we do this, I have a feeling that somebody, somewhere, is taking a little more money from Ghana than they ought actually to be paid. And if we save all that money, we probably will be doing more roads than we are doing now, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity.
At the conclusion of the debate, the question is all in favor of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it, the motion is carried. Yes, sorry. Now, the question and the motion, I will have to amend the motion paper and the resolution, and then I'll put the question again. So, yes, Honorable Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, I seek your guidance. In respect of 12, you actually did put the question. I don't know what treatment you would advise.
I will rescind that and put a new question on the amended motion.
So, then, Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I request this House to rescind this decision in respect of motion 12 so that the necessary amendment could be effected.
Move the motion that the House do rescind the...
I move, Mr. Speaker, that we rescind the decision we made in respect of motion 12 on today's order paper.
Speaker, I second the motion.
All in favor of the House rescinding the motion moved in error, say aye. All the ayes have it. The House has rescinded the motion moved in error. Now kindly move the amendment and the amended motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that we amend in respect of the motion listed as item 12. Out of the discussion we have had, the figure 7,156,585 euros. We amend that to the figure 6,840,345 euros. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
6,840,345.
Yes, please. 6,840,345.
Very well. Honourable members, all in favor of the House? Yes, sorry.
This Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor of the House adopting the motion as amended. Motion 12 as amended. Say aye. All against that, say no. The ayes have it. Motion 12 as amended is adopted. Now, item 13. Honorable Minister, I guess you will also amend the figures in the resolution. Sorry, is it item 15? 1.5. Very well. So, kindly move for amendment of the figures before we take the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I seek your leave to rescind the amount of 30,443 euros stated in the resolution, and then introduce the correct figure.
Yes.
I thought the motion is to rescind the entire resolution.
No, we haven't moved the resolution yet.
Okay, I second the lead. Okay, Mr. Speaker, I second it.
So, the new figure in the resolution will be 6,840,345. Is that right?
You have to do the 30 for those families.
Is it 50? Yes, I think you asked that we move 15, but no, we're doing 13. We just finished motion 12. Is that right? So we go to resolution which is 13. Yes. And it is that the figures.
Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect, first she has to rescind the resolution. A question will be put and agreed. Then now when she is now reinstating the new motion, then that's when she will do the amendment. So we need to take them one after the other. We can't mix the two. Just like the chairman of the finance committee did. He first rescinded the motion, and question was put and agreed. Then now in moving the substantive with the amendment, then he made the amendment, and then the question was put. So the resolution, she did move it, but the question was not put.
Hasn't moved the resolution yet. So I'm permitting her to amend the figure in the resolution. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we are not there yet. Mr. Speaker, we are not there yet. What she did was to seek your leave to rescind, and I seconded it. So it's for you to put the question. And then we will now rescind the resolution before we move a new motion with amendment that you are now asking us to amend.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I think I went to item number 15, and you were trying to rectify it and ask me to come back to 13 because the resolution was 13. But I asked for your leave to rescind this amount. So I think we are on track.
Sorry, we want to be clear. What are we doing? The figure in resolution 13 is where the challenge is, right? The figure in resolution 13 is 7,156,585. And we're saying that based on the
Mr. Speaker, it's a very simple matter. You see, when motion 12 was carried, resolution 13 was equally carried. So it was seized with the House.
No, we haven't done resolution 13 at all.
We did.
No.
Oh, that was when I said Finance Minister absent. We did. We did 10. When we did motion 10, then we did resolution 11. Then we did motion 12 and resolution 13 before we moved to 14 and 15. Now we realize that the figures were not correct and we're trying to rework on it. So once we take a decision, we need to rescind the resolution so that the chairman of the finance committee had done that. So the resolution 13 will have to rescind it. Then in now redoing it, she makes a correction of the figure. So it's a very straightforward thing.
Now it's clear to me. We had actually adopted resolution 13 already. So we need to rescind resolution 13, amend it, and then we'll move the amended resolution. Yes, Chief.
Speaker, I'm just seeking your clearance. I thought at the outset, the chairman has sought to amend the figure in motion item 12, which is a motion. And Speaker, you granted say. Now, I thought that, Speaker, with your directive, you could have probably directed the same should consequentially reflect in the item number 13, which is a resolution, so that we don't have to go through the difficulty of rescinding and making that amendment.
Yes. What the suggestion is that rather than rescinding and motion, I could give the consequential order that the amendment made in Resolution 12 reflect in the subsequent resolution based on Resolution 12. Is that right?
Mr. Speaker, all this process doesn't take even 5 minutes. Because see, when you put the question, it's a decision taking. So it's like it's no longer before the House. To rebring it, you have to rescind. If you don't do that, in the capturing, because remember all the things that we are saying is being captured both in the hazard and then the vote and proceedings. They may not get it right, and if you are not careful, it goes wrong, and may God forbid there's litigation. Somebody make reference to it, and there's no clarity. But this doesn't take more than 5 minutes to do. Just do it neat way, then you know that everything is straightforward and covered.
Well, let's just follow the routine. Can they move a motion to rescind Resolution 13? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask of your leave to rescind Resolution number 13. I move the decision made. You guys are confusing me. Mr. Speaker, I ask of your leave to move to rescind the decision made on Resolution number 13 on pages 5 and 6 of today's order paper. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved to rescind the decision adopting Resolution number 13. All in favour of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. Resolution number 13, the decision is hereby rescinded. Now, kindly amend the figure in Resolution 13 and let's put the question again.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that we amend the figure captured under Resolution 13 to read 6,840,345 euros. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
All in favour of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Now, the resolution number 13, as amended, you may move for that to be adopted by the House.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolution number 13, as amended, on pages 5 and 6 of today's order paper be adopted now. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, who is seconding the? I second the motion to the amended resolution.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, all in favour of the House adopting Resolution 13 as amended, say aye. Are you paying attention? I'm putting the question again. All in favour of the House adopting Resolution 13 as amended, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. Resolution 13 as amended is hereby adopted by the House. Yes, what next? Is that what we just did? 14.
But thankfully, you have not put the question on that one yet.
Okay. Is there an amendment to 14? Is there an amendment to that one too? Yes, so please move the amendment before I put the...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the figure 30,443 euros in item 14 of today's order paper be corrected to the figure 27,240,887 euros. In figures 27240,887. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, all in favour of motion numbered 14 as amended, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Now, resolution 15. Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that resolution number 15 as amended be adopted now. I so
Kindly
move.
seek leave to amend it before you move it. He amended the motion. Now you amend your resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to seek your leave to amend resolution number 15 on pages 7 and 8 of today's order paper. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The new figure should be 27240,887.
Yes.
Euro.
Yes.
That is the new figure that will be inserted.
27,240,887 euros.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, resolution numbered 15 as amended. All in favour of the House adopting the said resolution, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. Resolution numbered 15 as amended is hereby adopted by the House. Yes, Mr.
Speaker, may we now take item 5, with your leave. Item 5.
Very well, honourable members, we have returned to private business and item 5, statements. There are a number of statements, but the leadership discussed and recommended some 2 statements. The honourable member for Nabdam will make the statement on World Tuberculosis Day. Yes, honourable member for Nabdam, kindly hold on. Kindly hold on. Yes,
Honourable Speaker, I want to come under Order 51. That says, at the time appointed for the purpose under Order 53, Order of Business, any member may, with the prior approval of Mr. Speaker, move a motion on a specific matter of urgent public importance. Mr. Speaker, I'm aware, and I want to seek your guidance on this issue.
Member, hold on. Go 51, go to 2. It says that a member who desires to make such a motion shall, before the commencement of sitting, submit to Mr. Speaker a written notification and statement of the matter to be raised. You are not permitted to take us by surprise.
Honourable Speaker, this is an issue of public importance. That's why I'm seeking your leave on that. Respectfully. Respectfully.
Very well, let me listen to the leader's respect of that. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, whereas I appreciate what my colleague is trying to do, and it may be really important, but he has to get his facts right. Where he needed to really come is Order 72. And in Order 72, with your permission, Mr. Speaker, just to assist my colleague, because Order 53 just talked about the order of business, but 72 is where you can really use for what you really want to do. But like Mr. Speaker is reminding you, you are to give Speaker a prior notice that when we get to this point, you'll be interested in doing ABCD. The Speaker is in the room because currently Speaker didn't mention anything to us in leadership. So even whilst he's seated, we could have written a note. The Speaker may look at what the issue is and agree with you and probably hint leadership. So I want to believe that maybe the matter may not die today. You can have an opportunity tomorrow if you can get Speaker so that we are all in the know what you may want to do so that we can assist you to do that. But we are sorry we have to go by the rules. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I'm grateful for his guidance. Okay.
Yes, Honorable Chief.
Madam Speaker, I am of the humble view, respectfully. And this is where we talk about we are the masters of our own rules. The rules, please. The rules are not supposed to shackle us. The rules are not shackles. An honorable member of this house has risen. Even he's not told us why he's on his feet. So, Madam Speaker, I thought you hear him, and if the matter is so unnecessary, you could overrule him, and he will sit down. But to gag him ab initio, Madam Speaker, I don't think in the name of the rules we should gag him. So, Madam Speaker, why are you on your feet? Even if not asked why he's on his feet, for him to tell us the essence of why he's on his feet. And if it's wayward, you bring him to check, and then that's the end of the matter. So please, Madam Speaker, the man from Kwadaso is about to tell you something. Please listen to him. If it's offense against the rules, and then Madam Speaker, you take a decision against him. Yes, please. Not to come from me.
Yes, Chief Whip, I give you the floor. I didn't know you acceded it to another person.
I would only want to plead with you to indulge, and also particularly plead with my colleague to indulge. We've always encouraged members to read the rules and to apply themselves to it. This is a typical example, and we may all have to use this as an example. Leadership is always available. My colleague is one member who is very punctual and has more often than not related to leadership. I expected him to relate on this matter. But be as may, Speaker, I only want to make pleadings with you that you indulge the member and will listen to him, and particularly plead with my colleague to bear with him as he's still getting to understand the nuance of the orders of the House. Speaker, I'm only pleading and also seeking your guidance and your indulgence.
Mr. Speaker, rightly so, our colleague from Kwadaso is one of the colleagues who is always in the chamber and eager to learn. Mr. Speaker, I just want to draw the attention of my colleague, Honorable Atatian. The reason for prior notice or mention to Speaker is we are a statement. Statements are not supposed to generate debate. So Speaker gets an idea what the issue is. Is it going to generate debate? Is it likely to degenerate the House? And hint leaders. That's the only reason why that is done. Mr. Speaker, since we don't know why he may be raising, whilst we don't know why he's raising, our prayer is that maybe why he's raising may not be debatable and may not degenerate the House. So I'll oblige the majority whip to probably ask you to grant him leave. So let's hear him. If what is going to raise is debatable, obviously I know you apply the rules fully. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. In the circumstance, I apply myself to Order 72 instead and grant you leave to make your statement of public importance.
Honorable Speaker, I'm very grateful to you and also to my senior minority chiefship. I know he's somebody with enormous experience, and I always learn from him. And also, minority leader, my very good friend and mentor in the House. Honorable Speaker, we are here to learn. And as a first timer, when I see something that baffles my mind, I would like to crave on your indulgence for you to direct me and also the House. Honorable Speaker, some days back, the High Court ruled And the Court of Appeal also affirmed that our honorable friend, Kwesi, is not supposed to be in the house. So I want to seek your guidance on that. Whether, because, Honorable Speaker, we are law-abiding, we go by the tenets of the Constitution, and I want to find out from you whether his presence here is allowed. That is why I want to put it across. Thank you for indulging me, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I think the intervention of the MP for Kwadaso is worth considering, because in the first instance that we have a stranger in this house. Why? The foundation is clear. A court, the High Court, a court of competent jurisdiction, declared qualified to be a member of Parliament. This has been affirmed by another court, the Court of Appeal. And therefore, in the face of these authoritative pronouncements regarding his capacity to remain here, if he will insist on coming here, I think he's raised a very legitimate concern. And let it sound strong that he's disqualified to come to this chamber until he's allowed to sit here by a higher court. If not, there is in contempt of the courts. And this honorable house should not give its blessing to a man who has conducted himself improperly, and we shouldn't encourage contumacious behaviors. So I think what is raised is very, very important for our own dignity, that if two courts have said you are not qualified as a member of Parliament and you defy the courts, there's no injunction processes, nothing, and you come here, it leaves much to be desired. So I think this is what is raised, and we should look at it as a house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to make comments on this matter. Mr. Speaker, the matter are two brothers are inviting this house to make a determination. It's unfounded. The matter is sub judice. The matter is before court. The Honorable Attachment has misled the House to suggest that the appeal is not before the Court of Appeal. It was not dismissed. What was dismissed was an interlocutory matter that was set aside on grounds of non-compliance. The substantive appeal is pending. As a House, we cannot tolerate this. As a House, we cannot tolerate this.
Honorable Member.
So,
can they ask which one can't we tolerate?
That we are inviting the House to make comments on a matter that is before a substantive court of law in this land. And that is our practice. So, Mr. Speaker, our two brothers are completely out of order for raising this matter on this floor. The rights of the honorable member is not yet determined by a court of law. He has a right of an appeal. He has a right of an appeal, which appeal is still subsisting. If you don't understand the facts, you must apply yourself to the peculiar facts of the case. The appeal is still subsisting before a court of law. There's even an angle of it that is before the Supreme Court. So this House is completely out of order to comment on the matter. So when our brothers continue to say that we should build consensus, and at every opportunity they want to take opportunity and reduce our number, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. We are before a court until our right is determined. We will pursue the matter to its logical conclusion. Our brother has a right to be here. He will be here today. He will be here tomorrow.
Honorable members, I did not intend that this matter becomes a debate. First, the only thing that has to be verified is whether indeed, after shouting, you are also disturbing the proceedings. Please, order. Can I have some order, please? The matter, what matter there is a fact to be determined. Whether or not the appeal has been determined, that is a question of fact. It's not a question of law. And I do not intend that we do that at this moment. I will discuss that with leadership, and then whatever steps we have to take, we'll take after that. Thank you. Yes,
Mr. Speaker, I can only thank you. I can only thank you for the direction that you have given. I must say, I'm really disappointed and worried because we were adhering to the rules strictly, and some of our colleagues said, "Oh, can we just give him a window?" And we didn't hear him. I thought the moment he raised the issue, a ruling was going to come that no, this is not something that will be entertained for now, as Mr. Speaker have done. But unfortunately, the statement that followed from my colleague Honorable Atatia is making me believe I may be wrong and I may be alleging that he and my colleague planned to do what they did. And that was why he was insisting that it should be heard. And I'm assuring him, because of what you've done, you have broken trust. You have broken trust. The next time you want to do anything, I can assure you will insist on adhering to the rules to the fullest. And when that comes, don't say we are being incessant. Remember your own conduct in the matter such as this, because Order 93.1 is very clear. 93.1 is very clear. And you, being a senior member, taking or stealing an advantage of what my colleague, who is the first timer, was trying to do, to make the statement that you made, is very disappointing to say the least. But obviously, I can assure you that we adhere to the rules to the fullest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chief Whip, yes.
Yeah, colleagues, Speaker, I think Mr. Speaker, colleagues, I heard the minority chief whip. I heard him in silence. It's just fair that you should also hear us. I think you should hear us. Mr. Speaker, we don't want to drag this matter. You have shown us direction, and you have directed the House on this matter, so there's no debate about it. For what my colleague said, it's quite unfortunate. Speaker, thank you.
Very well, honourable members. Very well.
So if
I had I had moved on to private business statements. I had called the honorable member for NABDAN to read his statement. So we'll continue from there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The second deputy speaker to take the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement to commemorate the World Tuberculosis Day 2022. It is a day set aside to raise public awareness about the devastating health, social, and economic consequences of tuberculosis, and to step up efforts to end the global tuberculosis epidemic. The date marks the day in 1882 when Dr. Robert Koch discovered the bacterium that causes tuberculosis, which opened the way towards diagnosing and curing this disease. Mr. Speaker, tuberculosis is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It spreads through the air when a person with TB, disease of the lungs or throat, coughs, speaks, or sneezes. And people nearby breathe in this bacteria and become infected. TB usually affects the lungs, but it can also affect other parts of the body, such as the brain, the kidneys, and the spine. To diagnose TB, chest X-ray, sputum for AFBs, gene expert, and blood tests can be done. The golden standard for TB diagnosis is to culture the bacteria. TB can be treated and cured by using antibiotics. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, about 10 million people were infected with TB, and approximately 1.5 million people have been losing their lives every year to TB. In Ghana, the estimated prevalence rate of TB is 143 per 100,000 of the population. Mr. Speaker, the theme for this year's celebration is Invest to End TB, Save Lives. I'll repeat the theme again. Invest to end TB, save lives. It conveys the urgent need to invest resources to up the fight against TB and achieve the commitment to end TB made by global leaders. 40 million TB patients are expected to be treated, including 3.5 million children in 2022. On this day, the World Health Organization is organizing a special virtual talk. This is critical in the context of COVID-19 pandemic that has put NTB progress at risk, and to ensure equitable access to prevention and care in line with the WHO drive towards achieving SDG 3 and universal health coverage. The main speakers will include ministers, leaders, and other high-level government representatives. Mr. Speaker, data shows that Ghana is not doing well in TB control. due mainly to limited financing of the program. An estimated 15,500 Ghanaians die every year from TB. It is against this background that a coalition of NGOs, Stop TB Partnership Ghana, Ghana TB Voice Network, and Hope for Future Generations are engaging high political leadership in the country to achieve increased resource mobilization and funding. Currently in Ghana, the HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria are funded by the new funding model 3, or in short, MFM3. It is estimated to raise an amount of $238 million to finance key interventions between 2021 to 2023. The government of Ghana is expected to contribute a counterpart funding of about $45 million. The treatment success rate is high, 85%, but the coverage is only 32%. The main machine, which is called Gene Expert, used for quick diagnosis, is not available in all the districts, and there are difficulties associated with transportation of samples to selected centers. Also, failure to involve sufficient community health workers hinder the detection of TB cases. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service have not yet improved oversight and accountability, with duplicative role, ambiguous reporting lines, and lack of performance targets contributing to delays, poor grant absorption, and weak performance. However, there have been improvements in drug storage conditions and logistic management information systems. Mr. Speaker, tuberculosis is primarily a socio-economic problem associated with overcrowding, poor ventilation, lack of fresh water, poverty, and limited access to health care. The former president of the United States, Bill Clinton, on the occasion of World TB Day 2000 in Hyderabad, India, stated that these are economic calamities, human tragedies, and much more than crisis for anyone. They are crises for the whole world. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, upon the problems and challenges stated above, which require rectification, there are certain areas in Ghana here that act as breeding grounds for tuberculosis because of the inhumane living or working conditions. These include overcrowding in practically all our prisons in Ghana, the Galante sites, the fishing communities, the farming settlements, our urban slums, and some of our Zongo communities. There is a need for targeted budgetary allocation to improve conditions in these areas. Also, the provision of healthcare close to these areas or sites to assist in early diagnosis is highly welcome. Mr. Speaker, as parliamentarians, we can also allocate some resources from our NHIA fund to assist organize wellness clinic to educate and screen the populace for the Mycobacterial tuberculosis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Very well. Yes, let me invite member of Mentionov.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by my deputy ranking on the Health Committee. Mr. Speaker, meeting the tuberculosis control programs directors and the knowledge that they share about tuberculosis and its effect on the human body and on an economy, Mr. Speaker, I've come to realize that tuberculosis even have to be given much more attention than even COVID-19 has been given. The mode of transmission, as they said, and as we have come to know, Mr. Speaker, is not through the use of cups, spoons, or utensils by affected individuals, Mr. Speaker, but it is purely airborne. It therefore calls that, Mr. Speaker, the wearing of nose masks should have even preceded COVID-19 because of the effect and the way in which tuberculosis spread. Much more worrying, Mr. Speaker, is the statistics about tuberculosis. It is said that almost about 45,000 individuals that are affected by tuberculosis, an approximate number of about 40%, cannot be traced, Mr. Speaker, for treatment. And with the nature, Mr. Speaker, of how tuberculosis spreads, it is therefore worrying, Mr. Speaker, if these numbers cannot be traced. As it was said by the ranking member in the statement, the Honourable Member for Nandam, increased advocacy on this matter, Mr. Speaker, is therefore needed for us to draw home the debilitating effect of tuberculosis and its effect on the human body. Because one, all the organs of the human body can be affected by tuberculosis: the brain, the liver, the lungs, and even the kidney. This year's team, Mr. Speaker, invest to end tuberculosis, save lives, calls for a greater impact in investment, that is financial support, into the control of tuberculosis. Currently, out of the 260 districts that we have, according to the tuberculosis control program, about 50% of them, that is about 130 of them, have machines and equipment that they can on station test tuberculosis and diagnose. Those that do not have to transport the spectrum, Mr. Speaker, to where there are these facilities for the diagnosis and treatment of tuberculosis. I will therefore add my voice to the call, Mr. Speaker, for financial support to be given to this program so as to be able to acquire the needed equipment and infrastructure to help diagnose, treat, and eliminate tuberculosis in our social fiber, so as to be able to have a greater workforce that is healthy, Mr. Speaker, to help contribute to the development of this country. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by my deputy ranking member on the Health Committee. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, member for Nsheso.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. I have something brief to contribute to this
very important statement. And it has got something to do with the fact that people are being misled with this thing they call shasha. Is it shasha or shashi? I think they are being driven so fast into believing that it has not got any side effect on our chest or our heart. Interestingly, research has actually provided the inference that it is almost as passive smokers. Just because when I talk about passive smokers, those who do not smoke directly, but they are always within the environment and close to those who are actively smoking. And according to health reports that we know, it poses more danger than those who even actively get themselves involved. Mr. Speaker, last week, I decided to visit my primary schools, and a child at the age of 13, now even getting to 13, started doing some of these things and smoking at the age of 10. Mr. Speaker, you know me, I share tears easily. I'm very emotional. And I'm being honest with you, I got so emotional. I am accordingly calling on the appropriate stakeholders and authorities to have a well-defined models in handling the young ones that are into some of these things, and as a result, tuberculosis. You go to Konfanochi today, you see young ones, even some are below the age of 16, suffering from tuberculosis. I think it is an area that we don't have to heap scorn on and gloss over. I'm therefore adding to this very important statement that as a house, if we can set up a small committee to go into the activities that actually lure these young ones into it. One of such activities is those that are under 18, but they are always gambling. Kotoko will score, Manchester will score. It's one of the causes. 2, those under 18 that are allowed to purchase alcoholic beverages and tobacco substances, either used by themselves or sent by their relatives, uncles, and then their fathers. I think we need to be more serious and review the laws, if we have any. If we don't, come out with new laws that will ensure that the future of this country that will depend on these young ones will not be jeopardized. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, a member for Kitel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, tuberculosis is a serious disease all over the world as well as in Ghana. Ghana has been fighting tuberculosis for ages now, and then there are issues we need to look at. One of them is in terms of pharmacovigilance and then drug resistance. Behavioral change. People take these medications in terms of TB drugs. They start taking it. 2-3 weeks, they stop. They are no more taking because they feel fine. These have actually led to what we call multi-drug resistance in terms of TB drugs in the country. So globally, including Ghana, we have been fighting drug resistance. And it's an area as a country we need to look at. Because these are things that are actually creating the problem more and more. Because if you take the drug and then on the way you stop, the drug will actually develop resistance. So in terms of taking it again to end the TB, it will not suffice. And it is an area we need to look out for. So as a country, the Ministry of Health needs to really look at what we call behavioral change communication, where we need to behavioral change, because it's the attitude of the people that is leading to creating that confining factor for the resistance of the drug. So we need policy direction too. As a country also, we have so many medical research institutions in the country, but as we speak, we don't have any company in Ghana doing researches in terms of coming up with new derivative of the drugs. The old ones, other countries are doing it, but we are not investing. Ghana is not investing in research, medical research. As we speak, only Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research and other Ghana Health Service allies who are doing research in the country. And that one is for the university. As a country, we don't have commercial research institution in the country. What we will call is a medical institution established by Ghana to actually its focus should be on medical researches. We don't have in the country. We were knocked down when COVID came. We have no public reference institution like that, the caliber up to international standard where researches are done. So it is time now we show the country and then at least put some research medical institutions which are commercial and then do research into medical research for us. As we speak, in terms of juvenile TB is also on increase, and then we need to look at. And then, if you look at the factors that are contributing to that, we can also see that rural areas, in terms of pollution, our air dust, and all that, are also part confining the problem. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to plan and have coordinated effect in terms of behavior change communication, where we actually go down to educate the people who are victims of TB, and then supposed to take the drug judiciously to about 6 months before the cure and they go through the necessary tests at the end of the day to ascertain whether still we have the bacteria there or not. Mr. Speaker, on this note, I'm calling on the Ministry of Health to do the needful so that they do allocate enough resources for TB, because as we speak, it was only donor funding. Donors who are contributing in terms of TB, only donors are contributing funding to that. As a country, as a ministry, as a country, we suppose also to dedicate some fund in terms of eradication of TB or fighting TB. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, we bring statement time to close. Yes, available leaders. Any indication?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The leaders are not here, but before the Deputy Chief Whip left, she conferred with the Minority Chief Whip. So I believe we've had enough for the day, and all things being equal, we can close for the day and come back tomorrow morning before noon as usual. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well. Yes, available minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, we are entirely in your hands.
It's 1:30. Can you now move a motion? Yes. Available majority leader, may you move a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House adjourns for the day.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion since we don't have any business to conduct.
Honorable members, the motion for adjournment has been moved and it has been seconded. The question is, as many as are in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against the motion say no. Honorable members, let me take the motion, the question again. All those in favor of the adjournment moved by the available leader say aye. Aye. All those against the motion say no. No. Honorable members, the ayes have it.
The motion is adopted and the House is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House stands adjourned.